Hey guys, it's Loveless, and it's time for another video. This was a request and something I've been meaning to look into anyway. Today we're looking at Jussie Smollett's situation. As a quick refresher, Jussie, star of Empire, reported being the victim of a hate crime in 2019, and police investigated the incident. The investigation went sour for him, however, when authorities instead focused on Smollett as a suspect, stating this was a hoax and charged him with multiple counts of false reports. Smollett filed an appeal, and he was granted freedom from jail pending the outcome of the appeal of his conviction. So how does this move forward? I'm not sure that the outcome is set in stone yet to be revealed, but we can certainly look into the energies here. Let's get to the chart. It was made on October 19th, 2022. I spent a few nights before bed looking at this chart, trying to figure it out. Capricorn is rising, making Jussie Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. This is a depressive state, someone in a tough situation, finding it hard to perform at their best. To his benefit, Saturn is in the first house. He has some power to do things as he pleases, and more than the average person. Unlike Brittany Griner, who was Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, Jussie's planet isn't in the 12th house like Brittany's was, and so he escapes prison. This should be a long-term indication, but may also be temporary, so he could be out and about for a good little while. Pluto is in the first house too, indicating the obvious in his case, turmoil. What does Pluto represent? It represents to a degree his career and the authorities judging his appeal. This placement does suggest he has a degree of influence over the authorities for things to go his way. Saturn square Uranus definitely speaks of his reputation. It would seem most of the public is against him and having trouble with his narrative. There are a couple of Greek lots which show themes at play joined to Saturn. Saturn conjunct heavy place. We know that Jussie is in a heavy place right now. Even though he continues to be working, there is the looming possibility of returning to jail for him and the weight of the world's judgment. Saturn conjunct investigation. Jussie has been, and will be, under investigation again during the course of his appeal. The financial forecast of the second house isn't too good. His money is Saturn, which I already mentioned isn't doing well, and also Jupiter. Jupiter is retrograde, and this is a classic sign of a great debt or a waste of money, and in Aries, it happened quickly. Most likely, a debt or heavy expense related to legal issues, slander in the media, and investing heavily in his career. We see this by what houses Mars rules in this chart, the 3rd and 10th houses. Neptune retrograde is in Pisces here too, and I see this as another sign of spending money towards film or music projects, and some related financial trouble as well. The part of fortune, which describes his potential wealth, is marred by the South Node, a marker of damage. This is a very bad indication. Profits from his career will be hurt for the long term. Nevertheless, even though all his money rulers are retrograde, they are still in some position of power. So even though he experiences frustrations and ruin, he still has some success. The media and his career are where he suffers most. These areas of his life are directly intertwined as Mars rules both these houses, and is afflicted by the presence of the South Node in Scorpio. Though the investigation of whether he made a hoax is technically ongoing due to his appeal, technically he was also convicted of doing so. In the media, I find them usually describing Smollett decidedly as the man who ruined his career over a hoax. I see this also with Aries over the 3rd house that represents the media. Aries is the worst position in the zodiac for Saturn, the planet which represents Jussie. Indeed, though, with the South Node in Scorpio in the 10th house, his career, reputation, and status is ruined for the long term, and for quite scandalous reasons. Now, will Jussie work again in entertainment? I kind of answered this before. Yes, he will and has. Despite the negative forecast overall, he will continue to work in creative projects. This is shown by Mars in Gemini in the 6th house of jobs, and Mercury trines Saturn. This trine is fortunate for him. Mercury represents in this chart performing in creative projects. Mercury trines Saturn retrograde from Libra from the 9th house shows his best bet is working for himself, abroad and publishing, and I think he knows this. This speaks of a relevant star joined to the ascendant.
Ascendant conjunct Deneb by 15 minutes. Deneb, in Aquila, is in the tail of the eagle. Of the nature of Mars and Jupiter, this star indicates an authority figure with the capability to make executive decisions.
Executive decisions. This sounds like someone who has a position of power. Recently, Jussie has directed the movie B-Boy Blues, which was picked up by BET+. As I mentioned, this trine is fortunate for Jussie, and I would not be surprised to see him have some success, and actively working for many months moving forward. Jussie's fans of his work in this chart are Mars. This means he will continue to have support concerning art, especially financial, but still this energy is tainted due to the scandal, and he won't have as many supporters as he could have. That's it for now. Stay tuned for part 2, where we speak about his family, his appeal, and do some tarot.